Hi everyone. So this is my video, my final reflection for 431, becoming a culture and linguistical responsive educator. So, hi, my name is Rita Tower Jones. I work as a teacher assistant for a Chicago public schools. I work in a pre-K classroom. The school I work at is Paul Cuffey. I've been a TA for about 6 years now, and I'm currently working on my bachelor's degree to get my license to teach. I do want to become a preschool teacher. I want to teach for about 3 or 4 years, and then I actually want to open up my own daycare center. I'm a mother of two, which I adore. I have two daughters that are 7 and 10, and I love spending time with my family. And my favorite colors are purple and pink. So these right here is just some little photos of my favorite colors because I love butterflies. These are me and my girls. I actually like doing read alouds with my students and my children. And this is just a photo because I'm an early childhood person. I like working with early childhood, so I thought this picture was kind of cute because it represents me. Um, so for ranking my guiding principles, I basically rank them the same way as I did in a discussion post, except for I change culture, responsive teaching, unite students in schools and families and community. I changed that to number 4. And I made number 3 culture responsive teaching, supports and challenges students. I changed those because just my whole focus is basically just like the students. I feel like the students should be the center of learning. So going through the class and learning everything that I learned, it kind of made me look at it different. I mean, I do feel like that we do need students, schools, and families and communities, but I feel like as the teacher, I feel like you have to get to know your students. You have to get to know them. You have to get to know their backgrounds. You have to figure out what ways that you can support them and how you can help them be successful inside of the classroom. So that was just my biggest thing, just focusing on the students at hand for their center of learning. So I kind of changed those two up because culture, responsive teaching, unite students, schools, and families and community. That was number 3, and culture responsive. Um, Stimulus and support challenges was that one was number 3 and the other one was number 4. I'm sorry, I'm getting myself confused. But I changed those two. Um so it says, have your priorities changed since the beginning of the course? No, my priorities haven't changed because I always put students first. I always put their learning first because I feel like, you know, that's important. They're here to learn. We want them to learn. Um, I felt like using that opportunity gives you the opportunity to build relationships with them, take interest in them, and it also validates their identity. It kind of, lets them know like, hey, I see you, I know you, just having that, letting students know that you see them and you know their identity and you know who they are. I also think that having children share their experience, it makes them feel a part of the classroom, and it also allows us to bring their background knowledge into the classroom, which we can build off of that. So yes. Um, how was my ranking changed? So I kind of already discussed that, but I changed my rankings. I changed culture responsive teaching, leverage students' linguistics and cultural background. I changed that to two: culture responsive teaching, stimulus supports and challenges students as number three. Culture responsive teaching unites students, school, family, and communities as number four. I changed these records because I felt like they were centered around the students' learning and helps to support the needs of students. So that's why I kind of changed them, because I put students first. I want to say I put them first, and I felt like their learning is first. So I feel like I had to change those, because going through the course, I kind of noticed, that it's important that we learn who they are. It's important that we identify who they are. It's important that we learn their backgrounds. It's important that we listen to their experience or allow them to use their native language in the classroom. I feel like it is all a part of them being a part of the learning process as well. So that's why I changed them, because once again, I see students as the center of learning. And for the last one, what guiding practices would you pose and why? So, cultural responsive teaching leverage students' linguistic and cultural backgrounds. I chose this one because educators can use this to build our students' background knowledge and offer many ways for students to learn, which I think it is very important that we don't just stick to a traditional curriculum. Like, I know we have the curriculum, but I think that it's other ways that we can also make learning engaging, fun for multilingual students. I think having those students pair with someone who speaks the same language as them, um, allows them to grow, and it allows them to build off each other's strengths and weaknesses. And I also believe that choosing text that students can relate to is very important, because you give students the opportunity to write those. You can have students respond to those passages. You can have them translated in their language, just giving them a different variety of learning, and it also will increase their English language skills as well. So this would be my goals. I think this is my short-term goals. So my short-term goals are collecting background information on students. I think collecting background information, I think that should be a short-term goal, because I feel like once you get to learn your students and know who they are, you don't kind of need to mm, do that, because you already know. So I think just like for the first maybe couple of months of school, just, keeping a journal, or, hey, I know so and so likes this, or I know so and so family is into this. I think that's a really good thing, because once you get to know your students and you build those positive relationships, you know them forever. You know them inside and out, because you're there with them 5 days a week. So you're gonna know your student. Classroom setup, I chose this as a short term goal, because just doing my field hours and just paying attention to, how the teacher had the classroom set up, who kind of sat by who. Like, I think that's important, especially when you have English language learners, because I feel like it gives them a chance to work with somebody that they're familiar with, or not necessarily, or working with someone who can kind of help them or relate to them in some kind of way. I feel like it can be very useful to them. So I think, just arranging a desk or having certain students sit by this person, or maybe you might want that student to sit on this side, because maybe you have some visuals up here that can be useful on the walls and they may need to see. So I just think that being mindful of the way you set your classroom up can be very beneficial to those students. And I think it's a short time goal, because as teachers, sometimes you always might want to switch things up, and it's good to do that. But I just think that thinking about the classroom setup is very important. The support and resources, I will build strong relationships with my students and their families as well. I would kind of keep a journal to help me remember, just for like the first couple of weeks until I get them down packed, because once I get them down packed, I know them and I know their families. So, um, again, using visual aids, labels, schedule, word walls, environment, it kind of brings the cultural linguistics in, because it gives you the opportunity to have a schedule up. You might want to have a schedule up where one side is English and one side is Spanish, or you might want to have some labels in the classroom where, hey, the labels are in English and Spanish. You might want to have some words, word walls. Maybe you guys are reading a story and you all learn some new words. You might want to put those words in English and Spanish, because it gives students the opportunity to see it visually and they're able to refer back to it later on. So I think that's very important. And for the classroom setup, I just said arranging seating where students can communicate with each other, which I think is really big. I think communication is key, and having them kind of, talk to each other and interacting with each other is very big, and it helps them learn from each other. So those are my short-term goals. I skipped a slide. My long-term goals is setting high expectations for my students. I think this is just so very important. Even though they are learning a new language and it's new to them, I think that it is very important that we have high expectations for them, because we want them to see like the other students. Just because they don't speak the other language that the student speaks, that doesn't mean that they are not that they're not going to be able to learn it, or we don't have high expectations for them. I feel like when we set those high expectations, it gives them the opportunity to actually grow and actually build and become stronger English language learners, I should say. My second goal is add cultural relevance to the curriculum and learning. With this, I just think, bringing in students' background and, thinking about where they come from, and having them, relate to, just giving them knowledge where they can relate to, which I think it is very important. I know as educators we have a curriculum to follow, but I think just within the curriculum, embedding some of their experience or some of their background, or just projects and just different things that students can relate to, it can actually make learning very engaging and meaningful for those students. The support and resources I would use, I think having a bilingual dictionary, I think that's really awesome. Students can revert back to something if they might not know it. Using materials that relates to students, just like libraries, just posters, just things that students can see in English and their native language. I also think allowing students to speak in a classroom in their native language is very important, because it doesn't allow them to forget about their native language. Scaffolding, I think that is very, very important. And peer work, I think peer work is very important as well. And for my last slide, it says start, stop, continue. One thing I want to start is just making learning relevant for students, just connecting it to their lives, just bringing the whole experience to them where they can share things, or we can be reading something and they might say, oh, well, I might have, when I lived here, or we might have called this that. And I mean, just giving students something that they can relate to throughout the educational process, which is very important. It gives educators the opportunity to build off students' existing knowledge, which is very important as well. And it helps students to engage in the learning process. And we want them to be engaged, especially that they speak a different language and they're not learning a new language. So regardless, we want them to always feel like they're a part of the classroom. This is their classroom, and they're able to share, and just feel like that learning is meaningful to them. So yeah, that's one thing I actually want to start. One thing I want to stop, which is something I actually really like, and I thought this was kind of cool, like learning through the course. Just making families, just making English language learner families, making them be a part, well, not making, but giving them the opportunity to be a part of like after school events, meetings, just making them want to come. We have to provide them with those different resources, like getting a translator or sending out a letter in English and Spanish. Um, Maybe offering some different clubs that's geared around learning the new language. I think that is very, very important for them to feel like they are a part of our school as well. So I think it is important for them to attend those after school events, attend those meetings, and be able to see things that come home in a different language than besides English. And then they're trying to figure out like, oh, okay, how are we going to read it? Oh, we're not going to read this because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in English. We're not going to know what's going on. So I think just finding a way to bring them to have families and students participate in school and outside of school. So I mean, inside of school and after school. So just participating in those small little meetings, or your school may be having an open house, your school may be having a STEM night, or just making them feel like they're a part of the school as well. One thing I would like to continue doing is allowing students to use their native language in the classroom. I think that is so very important because it still reminds them of who they are. And it just allows them to just still be themselves and still be a part of the classroom. And we don't want them to forget about their native language, because 9 times out of 10, when they go home, they're still using their home language. And then all of a sudden, when they get to school, it just stops. So it's like we don't want them to forget about their native language, or we don't want them to forget, that's a part of their identity. That's a part of, you know, educators validating, like, hey, yeah, that's good. You learn 2 languages. It's just making them just feel comfortable no matter who they are. So, um, yeah, that's something I want to continue doing as an educator. Closing thoughts. Honestly, I learned a lot from this class. I absolutely didn't know anything about working with EL students. I knew something, but I really didn't know a lot. And this class has taught me a lot as far as like using visuals is like very, very important. So having those different things on the walls, like the posters, like in the class that I went in, she had the ABCs up on the top chart of the wall. So I think maybe incorporating those in another different language could have helped the students, pick up their alphabets letters, pick up their sounds better. Having labels in a classroom, like they had little labels in a class, like for manipulatives. I think having those in her students' native language would have helped them a lot as well when navigating in the classroom. Um, just getting to know them overall, getting to understand them, learn their identities, and just figuring out a way where you can help them and their families. Just overall, just making the whole classroom environment just a cultural diversity for EL students. I really learned a lot in this class, and I honestly enjoy this class. This class has taught me different ways that I can be a great culture responsive teacher. Besides learning things in this class, I do plan to actually use it as a future educator. So this was my presentation for 431, my final reflection. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and bye. That's too long. That thing say 20 minutes. Oh hell no.